The jungle was burning behind him. His comms were dead. And there, tangled in the roots of a living monolith, was the last thing he expected to find. A Vailari war maiden, bleeding, watching him, and whispering, "Don't let go." The air was thick with smoke and static. Somewhere behind the trees, the firefight was still raging. Bright orange blasts of plasma cut across the sky, but Terran Voss didn't look back. His HUD was cracked, the comms were useless, and his legs burned from sprinting through the dense alien undergrowth. His squad was gone. Maybe dead, maybe scattered. But none of that mattered now. Because as he crashed through the thorns and ducked, beneath the moss-choked vines of the towering jungle, something strange caught his eye. Movement, a shimmer of silver hair. A faint groan, and then he saw her, pinned against the gnarled base of a massive root cluster, half sunk into the twisted tree like it had grown around her. Her skin was blue, not the dull navy of a sky worlder, but iridescent, glowing faintly, like starlight. Blood, deep violet and shimmering, leaked from a gash along her thigh. Her armor was cracked, ornate, alien. She looked regal even in ruin. Vailari. Terran's stomach turned. She was the enemy. They were the reason this jungle was burning. The reason his team had marched into hell in the first place. And yet, he dropped to one knee, instinct overriding training. "You're hurt." Her eyes fluttered open, brilliant silver with a vertical pupil, cat-like and wary. She flinched when he touched her leg. "It's broken," he said, already pulling the medkit from his belt. "Clean break. You'll live." The alien warrior bared her teeth. "You're human." He smirked grimly. "Notice that, huh? You should have left me to die." Terran popped open the bone setter and applied pressure to her thigh. "Funny. My CO says that all the time." Her body jerked with pain, but she didn't scream. She bit down on her gauntlet instead, letting a muffled grunt escape. Terran held her down with one arm, guiding the device with the other. "This'll hold long enough for evac," he muttered. "If I had evac." But the line had gone silent. An hour ago. She opened her eyes again, barely above a whisper. "Why are you helping me?" He paused, meeting her gaze. "I don't leave people behind," he said. "Even if they're blue and sharp-tempered." The insult, or attempt at humor, didn't land. She winced, but not from pain this time. Her hand gripped the edge of his uniform, trembling. Then, in the softest voice he'd ever heard, she said, "Don't let go." Something in the way she said it, half a plea, half a command, hit him hard. "I won't," he said quietly. She exhaled, her hand still clutching his shirt. "She doesn't trust me. She's terrified. And still, she wants me to stay." He finished securing the splint, then glanced around. The sounds of the forest were changing. The low whirring of drones, Vailari scouts maybe, was growing louder. "We can't stay here," he said. "Can you move?" She blinked slowly. "Not far. Then I'll carry you." Before she could argue, he had already slipped one arm, behind her shoulders and the other beneath her knees. She was light. Lighter than she looked, even in armor. Her scent was strange, like crushed leaves and ozone. She hissed as he lifted her. "You're insane, probably," he said, "but you're lucky I have a hero complex." The jungle grew darker as he moved. Massive roots twisted like serpents around moss-covered boulders. Strange glowing insects lit their path, and the distant hum of machinery buzzed in the canopy. "I'm Terran," he said eventually. The alien was quiet for a moment. Then, "Vailari." Her voice was softer now, less clipped, as if some wall had crumbled. "You got a title with that?" She hesitated. "First daughter of the House Threx, commander of the Veiled Crescent." Terran gave a low whistle. "So I'm carrying alien royalty through enemy territory. Fantastic." "You shouldn't joke," she said. I joke when I'm scared. Are you scared? Hell yes. That made her pause. Then, to his surprise, she gave a small laugh, a sound like wind through glass. By nightfall, they reached a shallow ravine beneath the roots of a massive ironwood. Taran lowered her gently onto the moss and collapsed beside her, chest heaving. He checked the splint. No bleeding. The swelling was under control. The bone regenerator had done its job. You'll live, he said. Thanks to you. Don't. Get sappy on me, princess. She stared at him for a long moment. You're not like the others. Humans. Soldiers. He looked away. War makes monsters of everyone. Elari nodded slowly. And still you stayed, he turned back. You asked me not to let go. She looked down, then, slowly, reached for his hand. He let her take it. Her fingers were cool, but her grip was steady. In Vailari culture, she said softly, when we ask that, it means more than just survival. Taran's breath caught. What does it mean? That we entrust our life to someone. And you trust me. I don't know. But I want to. The moment hung between them. The distant sound of gunfire echoed like a memory. He didn't let go. Later that night, Taran barely slept. Elari dozed fitfully beside him, shivering in her cracked armor. He wrapped part of his jacket around her shoulders and kept one hand near the sidearm on his belt. But the scouts didn't find them. And when dawn broke, soft golden light filtering through the canopy, Elari stirred and looked at him with something new in her gaze. Not suspicion, not fear, something like hope. But hope never lasted long in a war zone. The trees shuddered as distant engines rumbled to life. Dropships. Close. We've got company, Taran said, rising. Elari sat up slowly. Not human. He scanned the sky, cursing under his breath. Vailari? She nodded. My father will not be pleased I'm missing. And if they find us together, they'll kill you. Taran looked down at her. Then we better not get caught. And just like that, a human and an alien princess, both hunted, both wounded, found themselves bound by something stronger than duty, deeper than fear. The low whine of repulsor engines grew louder, turning the peaceful hush of morning into a tense drumbeat of dread. Taran pulled Elari to her feet, with one arm braced around her waist, her body still weakened, but upright. We need to move, he said. Now. The glow of the approaching Vailari skiff reflected off the damp foliage, casting erratic streaks of violet across the jungle. Not far behind, a heavier dropship thundered in, kicking up cyclones of leaf and loam. They're sweeping this whole quadrant, Elari muttered. Looking for me. Guess we're not just sightseeing anymore. She shot him a glare, but her smirk betrayed amusement. Still joking? I only get funnier under pressure. They crashed through thick underbrush, following the ravine's edge. Taran's boots splashed through shallow streams and tangled vines. Every few minutes, he'd glance back and catch Elari gritting her teeth, her body limping in rhythm with his steps. You okay? Not even close, he nodded. I'll take that as a yes. The air sizzled a second before a plasma bolt vaporized the treetop above them. Move. Taran shoved her behind a tree as another blast exploded nearby, sending splinters and alien bark flying. Scouts found us. Elari drew her blade, etched in radiant glyphs, thin as a whisper, but pulsing with power. Taran's pistol clicked as he slammed a fresh cell into it. We can't outrun that ship, he said. We need cover, or elevation. She pointed to a crag of moss-covered stone jutting up like a broken fang 100 meters ahead. There, they sprinted, dodging fire. Taran took down a scout drone mid-air with a lucky shot, the thing exploding into a fizzing ball of electric shrapnel. Elari slashed through vines with fluid grace, blades singing in alien tongues. They reached the stone just as a Vailari squad burst through the trees, sleek armor, curved weapons, and glowing helms trained. "On them, Royal Guard," she hissed. "My father's elite." "Well, that's just great," Terran muttered, dragging her behind the outcrop. He fired, picked off two before the others spread out. Plasma seared past his ear. Ilari deflected a bolt with her blade, the energy dispersing in an arc of sparks. "We can't hold them long." Terran ducked, returned fire, then turned to her. "Got any royal commands that might help?" She looked at him grimly. "They won't listen. To them, I've betrayed the Empire." More bolts rained down. Terran shouted as one grazed his side, burning through the edge of his uniform. "Damn it! Let me fight," she snapped. "You can't even stand straight." "I can. Just keep them off me for 30 seconds. He hesitated, then nodded. "Don't die on me, Princess." The next 30 seconds burned themselves into his memory. Ilari stepped from behind the stone like a ghost wreathed in light. Her blade rose, no longer trembling. She twirled through the attackers, weaving between blasts and parrying with deadly grace. Her body moved like water, like wind. They hesitated. "Recognized her. Crown Commander." One of the Valari shouted. She stopped, voice ringing clear across the battlefield. "Lay down your arms. This war is a lie. You know it." But the soldiers hesitated only a second before a higher voice cut through the air. Amplified, venomous. "Traitor!" A man descended from the dropship, tall, imperial in posture, with eyes like hers but colder. His armor gleamed obsidian, his sword a match to hers. High Lord Vekthar, her father. Terran felt her body stiffen. "I gave you everything." Vekthar snarled. "And you sully our name beside a creature." Terran stepped forward instinctively, leveling his weapon. "Creature's got a name," he said. "And she's standing because I helped her," Vekthar sneered. "Then you die for her." The next seconds were chaos. Ilari lunged to intercept her father's strike. The two swords clashed, lightning spraying from the contact. Terran fired at the advancing guards, dropping one, then two. But more swarmed in. The lovers turned warriors stood back to back, human and alien. He reloaded while she parried. He shielded her while she attacked. But it wasn't enough. Ilari took a hit. Crackling blue energy slammed into her shoulder, sending her sprawling. Terran screamed and covered her body with his, shielding her from a follow-up strike. "Enough," she gasped. "We can't win this." "Then what do we do?" Her hand pressed against a rune on her bracer. "Plan B." The ground beneath them pulsed, and a massive root erupted from the earth, launching them both skyward as if the jungle itself obeyed her. Terran barely registered the fact they were airborne before a canopy of leaves swallowed them again. They crashed through foliage, landing in a pool of soft mud a dozen meters away. He groaned, spitting leaves. "Did I mention I hate flying?" She lay beside him, armor cracked, but smiling faintly. "You're welcome." He helped her sit up, brushing leaves from her hair. "So, we're fugitives now." "I was already. Now you're just caught in my rebellion." He laughed weakly. "First time for everything." They found a cave that night, half hidden beneath a waterfall shielded by thick moss and vines. Terran built a fire using crushed energem powder from his kit. Ilari reclined on a smooth stone, one leg stretched awkwardly. "Your father's a real charmer," he said, tossing a stick into the flames. She gave him a weary smile. "He believes the Empire is sacred, and that love weakens us." Terran stirred. The fire. "He saw love?" "I don't know," she said, voice soft. "But I did." He looked up. Ilari's silver eyes gleamed in the firelight. "I saw you carry me through hell, fight beside me, bleed for me." Terran swallowed. "It's not love. Not yet." She leaned closer, her breath warm against his cheek. "But it could be." He nodded, heart pounding. "Yeah, it could." She rested her head on his shoulder. He wrapped his arm around her, firelight flickering across their battered armor. Outside, the jungle roared. But inside that cave, they found silence. Sanctuary. Something fragile and real. The dream came again. Elari stood in the gardens of the royal spire. Sunlight caught in her hair, laughing, truly laughing, as fountains shimmered behind her. But the sky darkened. Her father approached, sword in hand, and behind him, an army of shadows. In the dream, she screamed as fire consumed the world, and her hands glowed with blue lightning, writhing, uncontrollable. She always woke at the same moment, when Taran called her name, reaching through the chaos, eyes pleading. Only, this time she actually heard him. Elari. Hey, wake up. Her eyes snapped open. The cave ceiling blurred above her, the waterfall's rhythm pounding beyond. Taran crouched at her side, a hand gently on her shoulder. You were thrashing. Elari sat up slowly. Her muscles ached, but not as bad as yesterday. I was dreaming again. The power. Taran tilted his head. You keep mentioning it. What is this power? She stood, barefoot and silent, and walked toward the edge of the cave. Outside, dawn painted the sky in gold and shadow. Her skin shimmered faintly, faint lines of blue light trailing down her arms like pulsing veins. I wasn't born like this, she said, voice distant. The Velari were never meant to hold energy like I do. It's an ancient force, bound to the roots of our world. The same life pulse that grows the jungle, feeds the rivers. My ancestors stole it, caged it, and in me, it awakens. Taran joined her, brow furrowed. So you're connected to the planet? To more than that. I feel every root, every leaf. I feel when it hurts. I feel when I hurt. She clenched a fist. The vines nearby shivered, recoiling ever so slightly. Taran was quiet for a moment. And your father? He fears it? She nodded. He wants it controlled, turned into a weapon. That's why he's hunted me since I left. And the rest of your people? They call me Vale's Wrath, the cursed daughter. Taran touched her arm gently. I don't think you're cursed. I think you're becoming what they fear, a force they can't own. She looked up at him then, and for a second, something ancient and powerful flickered behind her eyes. Taran, she whispered, if I lose control, if the storm takes me, you run. Do you understand? He stepped in, closer than before. No. If the storm comes, I anchor you, just like you anchored me in the jungle. She opened her mouth to argue, but the words faded. Instead, she said, Then I need you with me, until the end. He kissed her, and she didn't stop him. They left the cave just after dawn, traveling west toward the pillar ruins, ancient Velari temples swallowed by the jungle, and the last place Elari believed could help her unlock the truth about her power. Taran was quiet for most of the trek, eyes scanning the dense terrain. Still bruised, still limping, but stronger. Elari's presence seemed to charge the forest. Even the creatures watched them pass, unafraid. By midday, the heat was thick and wet. The canopy opened into a clearing. Twisted pillars of white stone, wrapped in vines, stood like guardians of time. Elari stepped forward first, hand raised. These are older than the Empire, older than even our species. Taran followed, awe dawning in his voice. What is this place? A sanctuary. And a forge. The center of the ruins held a raised disc, etched in swirling symbols. She stepped into the circle, closed her eyes, and pressed both palms to the stone. The earth pulsed. Energy surged through her, visible now. A corona of light surrounding her body. Taran shielded his eyes. Elari. But she didn't hear him. Inside her mind, she was somewhere else, standing in an ocean of stars. Voices whispered, her ancestors, the planet, the storm. You are not its prisoner, the voices said. You are its daughter. She saw visions of her father raising his sword against whole colonies, of weapons grown from the life force, of experiments on children like her, and she saw a flash of something else. Taryn, surrounded by fire, screaming her name. She gasped and fell backward, eyes wide. Taryn caught her just in time. What happened? He asked, breathless. They're coming, she said, trembling. He's bringing the full force of the royal fleet. He means to burn this forest. Taryn swore. Then we fight. She looked at him. Alone? No, he said. I made contact last night with my old squad. What's left of them. They'll meet us at the crash site. She blinked. You have friends? Hey, I'm lovable. She chuckled, then frowned. We don't have much time. Taryn stood. Then, let's burn them instead. By nightfall, the ruins were no longer quiet. Explosions lit the tree line. Smoke curled through the canopy. The royal fleet had arrived in force, ships descending like judgment, soldiers deploying in waves, but they didn't expect a forest that fought back. The vines tangled legs. Roots shifted paths, trees twisted to block vehicles. The jungle itself rose. And in the center of it, Ailari stood, glowing like a goddess of war, her hair wild, her eyes ablaze. Taryn led the guerrilla tactics. Human and alien survivors joined him, mercenaries, outcasts, smugglers. All of them united under a single banner. Don't let them take her. Ailari floated inches above the ground now, the power fully awakened. But with it came the danger. Taryn, she shouted. It's too much, I can't. You can, he screamed back, fighting through flame and blaster fire. You're stronger than this. I believe in you. That made her pause. Even amidst the chaos, that mattered. Then, the storm broke. Ailari raised her arms, and from the sky descended bolts of blue lightning, striking enemy ships mid-air, frying their circuits. Energy exploded outward in pulses, knocking soldiers unconscious without killing them. She spared them, and that's when Vekthar descended again, this time alone. He walked calmly through the battlefield, fire licking at his boots, eyes locked on his daughter. Enough, he said, drawing his blade. You dishonor everything we've built. Ailari stepped forward. You built a cage. I broke it, he snarled. Then die in the ashes. They clashed. The two swords lit the night, twin arcs of fury. Lightning clashed with shadow. For every strike he made, she countered. For every blast he sent, she absorbed. And then he faltered. Taryn saw it. The slight slip of stance. The widening eyes. Because Ailari didn't kill him. She disarmed him. She knelt, touched his chest, and drew the storm into herself, cleansing the rot, the hatred, the warlust. Vekthar gasped and fell unconscious. The jungle fell silent, and the storm passed. Later, as the fire died and the wounded were tended to, Taryn sat beside her on the stone dais. You saved him. I saved myself, she said. I am not my father's daughter. I am the storm, and I am the calm that follows it. He reached for her hand. So, what now? She looked toward the stars. Now we choose, not to run, but to rebuild. Smiled. I think I could live here. She leaned against him. With me? With you. The jungle was quiet again. Dawn filtered through the canopy, warm and gold, casting soft light across the battlefield now turned garden. Twisted metal had been overgrown with green. The wreckage of war, cradled by nature's slow and patient hands. The forest, it seemed, forgave faster than people did. Taryn sat near the water's edge, his arm bandaged, eyes scanning the slow-moving current. The reflections there were not of fire and fury, but of peace. He ran his fingers along a leaf floating nearby, marveling at its pulse. It was alive, and somehow aware. Behind him, Ilari walked barefoot through the grass, her movements fluid, serene. She no longer limped. Her strength had returned, but something else had changed in her. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was leading. "They're waiting," she said softly, nodding toward the old ruins. Taryn stood and followed her gaze. Dozens had gathered, human and Vailari both. Rebels, healers, survivors. Even a few of the enemy, now freed from Vekthar's mental conditioning, stood in silence beneath the blossoming trees. The battle had not only broken the chains of tyranny, it had started something unexpected: trust. "They're looking at you," Taryn said. "They're looking at us," Ilari replied. "You stood beside me when I could barely walk. You could have left me." "I told you I wouldn't," he said. "You told me not to let go." She smiled. "And you listened." Later, beneath the carved stone arch of the ancient temple, Ilari stood before them all. Taryn stood behind her, hand resting on the hilt of his salvaged blade, the symbol of a warrior who had no kingdom but the people he protected. Ilari raised, her voice clear and bright. "I am no longer a princess," she began. "That title belongs to a broken past. I am Ilari of the Vailari and of this jungle. I was cursed, yes, but only because I was different. That difference saved your lives." She looked across the crowd. "Let us build something different then. No more crowns, no more bloodlines, no more cages. This world, this forest, has taught me that the strongest roots are the ones that grow together." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, nods, silent salutes. She turned slightly, her voice softer. "And there's one more thing." Her eyes found Taryn's. "I was alone when I fell. I would have died on that forest floor. But a human picked me up. Not because he wanted power or a reward, but because he couldn't bear to see someone else in pain." Taryn shifted, uncomfortable with the attention. "I just did what anyone—" "No," she said firmly. "Not everyone would have done it, but you did." She stepped toward him and took his hand. "I asked you not to let go. Will you still hold on, Taryn Cade? Even now?" He blinked, then nodded. "I'm not going anywhere," and he kissed her, there beneath the ancient trees as the crowd watched in stunned silence. Then, cheers, unified voices. Two peoples, both born of stars and sorrow, now singing the beginning of something new. That night the stars were brilliant. Taryn and Ilari lay side by side beneath the open sky, limbs tangled beneath a patchwork blanket, the air thick with promise. "You scared me," he said, "back at the ruins. When you started glowing, I thought you'd vanish." "I almost did," she whispered, "but then I remembered your voice. That tether. I think I need that." "I think I need you," he admitted. "I came here to die, you know. I'd lost my squad, my mission, my purpose." "You found it," she said, kissing his jaw. "You helped me build it." A silence passed. Between them, not awkward, but heavy with the weight of shared survival. Then Ilari spoke again. "I want to show you something." She stood and reached her hand out. He took it. She led him into the forest, barefoot and laughing, through glowing trees and rustling leaves, until they came to a small rise. There, in the distance, rose the ruins, but now lit by bioluminescent vines, curling upward like veins of light. Dozens of small huts had been built around it. Smoke curled from cooking fires. Laughter rang through the air. A village, a beginning. "Our home," she said. "You want to stay?" "I want to build," she replied. "With you. For them." He slipped an arm around her waist. "Then we start tomorrow." She turned to him, voice low. "There's something else." He looked at her, brow raised. She hesitated. "In my people's custom, when someone saves your life, When they see you broken and still stand by you, you owe them more than gratitude. He stepped closer. What do you owe them? A, choice, she whispered, eyes glinting in the starlight. A vow. He studied her face. You want me to marry you, don't you? She laughed, red-cheeked. Not unless you... He kissed her again, then said, Yes, yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Elari of the jungle, daughter of the storm, my stubborn, wild, radiant goddess of chaos. She blushed so deeply her skin shimmered. Then they laughed together, loud, unburdened, real. Epilogue. Months passed. The jungle bloomed. Elari led the rebuilding efforts, mixing Violari crystal tech with human ingenuity. Together they formed the Ilaran Accord, a cooperative alliance of both races, where the exiled and wounded could find purpose again. Terran trained a new guard, not soldiers, protectors. He never let go of her hand, even when tensions rose, even when storms returned, because now, when Elari glowed, she no longer feared it. She had someone who anchored her. And Terran? He had someone worth living for. The end. If this story stirred something in you, if you believe in love found in the ashes, in storms weathered together, and in building a future out of brokenness, share it. Leave a comment. Let the universe... No, humanity doesn't run from the wild. We fall in love with it.